because you reap what you
So
sow.
I
Okay?
honestly was thinking the same. I'm like, you have literally sowed this in your life. I think it's interesting because we hear all the time, like the energy you put out is the energy you get back.
Yes. Galatians 6:7, New King James Version says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap.
Mm-hmm.
Sow to the flesh, you will reap corruption.
Wow.
Sow to the spirit, you reap everlasting life."
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here, we saw he sowed to the flesh.
Absolutely.
Now he's reaping corruption here. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and
that's a good
like
point.
You said, in Hinduism, Buddhism, they call it karma, right? New Age spirituality, they call it law of attraction. Here is God's law.
Yeah, exactly.
From the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
What you put in, like you said, is what you get out. Welcome everyone to the Carrie Podcast. We are your hosts, Tiara Carey and Donovan Carey.
Yo.
And we are going over Genesis 29 today.
Mm-hmm. Episode 18.
Yep. So thank you guys for joining us. If it is your first time, just to kind of give a little background of what we're doing here, we are going from the beginning of the Bible, Genesis, all the way to the end, Revelation. And we are taking it chapter by chapter at the moment, just breaking it down and trying to understand it and
pull out what we can.
Yeah, pull out the lessons and just try to grow together in the word, and we are bringing you along with the journey.
You want to hear something cool?
What?
As I'm reading the Bible and I'm getting further and further, well, we are, I'm thinking I could see why you would need to keep reading it. Because the more you learn, the more some of the stuff makes sense. Or the more things you can pull out.
The more wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I've noticed a lot of times what we're doing, we're reading it and it relates to the New Testament. But that's mostly just research, right?
Yeah.
Like that we haven't even gotten there yet.
Yes.
And I can only imagine once we get there, it's gonna be like, I need to start over.
Yes.
And try to see
Connect
how this whole story.
More dots.
Yeah. So it's like a lifelong project.
It is.
And this is just the Bible. That's not even talking about, like, I know you've mentioned a few other outside of just the Bible, but a few other scriptures. There's so many rabbit holes you could go down, the different tribes and where people lived and how the proximity and how that relates to today. That's a whole another thing I would love to go down one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something cool. I know I kind of done already mixed up the intro, but
that's all right. That's okay. So what were your thoughts on chapter 29?
Chapter 29 was definitely a little nostalgic, I'll call it. There was a lot of things that, to me, really resembled when Eliezer was there.
Yes.
So you caught that too? But then it felt flipped a little bit as well. So it's some interesting stuff in here. I would say I'm very interested to hear some of the dialogue that comes from it. Because unlike most of the other chapters where I'm reading it and I instantly know, I want to pull this point, This one, I felt like I had the thing and I wanted to point this out as opposed to pull this point.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm saying the difference, point this out, meaning this is interesting, but I didn't know what to pull from it necessarily.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can try to figure it out together.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's kind of what I thought about chapter 29. I thought it was cool, though.
Yeah, I can say the same.
Yeah.
So
Big dog Laban. So
let's get into it, okay? So it begins with letting us know that Jacob had arrived to Haran, right? So Haran, again, is the same city where Abraham and Lot and his wife and his father, right, Terah, when they left the land of Ur, which is their homeland, they went to Haran, which again, remember I told you that means delay. The Hebrew meaning of Haran is delayed.
Yeah.
So now we have Jacob, who is in the land of Haran, right? So when he gets there, he sees this well in the field, and it was covered by this heavy rock. And then he sees a shepherd and a couple flocks there, and he asks them where they're from, right? And I can understand why. There's no signs, there's no, you know.
He's trying to figure out where he is.
Where he's located at the moment. And they said that they were from Haran, right? So that was his confirmation that he did make it there. And then he asked them if they know Laban and if he was well. And they said yes, he was well. And it just so happened that Rachel was walking up from a distance with Laban's flock. And they pointed at Rachel and said, that there's his daughter, Rachel.
So from there, I will tell you, I saw this as the flesh version of what we saw Eliezer do. What do I mean by that? So as Eliezer was talking to God, Rebecca came and to go get the water before he could even finish his prayer.
Yeah.
And we see kind of the same while Jacob is talking to these shepherds of Haran. Here comes Rachel. So to me, we know it was God's will. This is one of those things where I'm like, God is already putting stuff in motion.
Right. I was thinking the same thing too, as because it mirrored Eliezer's encounter with his mother, Rebecca. I felt like this was definitely God's hand working here. Because we know before that in that chapter, I can't remember what chapter it was, but we know that before Abraham mentioned that God's angels were prepared the way for him. And then we literally saw it play out. And then now, remembering that Jacob just had an encounter with the Lord, and now we're seeing it kind of play out the same way. But I didn't see it the way that you saw it with him being in the flesh. I think that's actually a really good point.
Well, to me, it seemed like the fleshly version of the same thing Eliezer went through.
Right.
And I want to say, I do believe in this chapter, we kind of see a turn.
Yeah.
But I would say at this point, to me, he's still in that walking.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Like I just didn't even notice it. But now that you're pointing that out, I'm like, that actually makes sense because, we know that he was very attracted to her, right? He was seeing with his eyes. Off rip, that was him in his flesh, should I say. So prior to this, sorry, because I know I skipped ahead. Prior to this, he did ask the shepherds, like, why they are basically trying to figure out why they're just sitting around, right? As well. And they did mention that it was customary for them to wait until all the flock comes there. And then they would go ahead and water all the flock at the same time. Maybe he was asking because he was thirsty. I mean, he was on this road to get there. I don't really know why he wanted them to do it right then and there. But when she came up, he felt the need to move the rock himself because it mentioned before that it was heavy.
Yeah.
I felt like he was trying to show off.
I think so too. So one of the things, this is another thing that I found interesting that was like the flip of Eliezer. So with Eliezer, Rebecca came and fed all the camels. But with Jacob, he came and fed all the sheep. Or watered all the sheep.
Yeah.
And so I saw that and I'm saying, to me, I think they're trying to point this like opposite out, like just the way he thinks is, and not saying that this is a bad thing for him to water the sheep. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
But he was trying to impress her.
Yes.
At this point, he's trying to show he's a nice guy. He's trying to show he's a strong guy a little bit, right? So I think we're seeing some of that, and we know that he was taken by her beauty.
Yes.
And we definitely know he valued it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, like I said, I was finding things of interest. Do I know exactly what it means? No, but I know it's very similar but flipped.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So I definitely think he was trying to show off because one, he knew that this was Laban's daughter and he had to marry one of Laban's daughters.
He knew he had to court her.
Right.
And I think, once again, she was a beautiful woman.
Yes.
So he's like...
Yeah, because it mentioned she was beautiful in the face. She had a nice shape.
Yeah.
So it does mention that he kisses her. But I don't think it was in a romantic way.
No, on the cheeks.
Yeah. I think it was just more of like a greeting because that's just customary. And I mean, it still is to this day in many cultures. Yeah.
I just found it interesting because we haven't seen that.
In the Bible?
Yeah,
no.
So I found it interesting because we just haven't seen anybody do it.
Yeah.
So that's,
at least it didn't mention it.
Yeah, it didn't mention it. I should say. Now, clearly, she wasn't, felt any way about it. Because she did go back and still tell Laban. Clearly, I think she knew what was up. She knew this is a possible suitor. Yeah, she had to know. Because if not, then she wouldn't have got Laban to come out and approach.
Well, I don't know if he mentioned it at that point. I think it was just, this is family.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, yes, this was just family. Yeah, so I think she was just excited to know that they were related.
Yeah.
But after he kissed her, he wept out loud. And it could have been, it could have been just a sigh of relief, like the Lord really led me to my relatives, very similar to Eliezer.
Yeah.
How Eliezer had that moment of just like, wow, God, you really led me here.
Yeah.
Because remember, they had no GPS, they had no maps,
nothing.
Nothing. Like this
they
was
literally
straight
just walking.
God.
They just walking.
This is strictly God leading them directly to their relatives. So it could have been a moment of that. And it could have also been a foreshadow of what he was about to go through to get her.
That's
hardship, okay? Yeah. But I do think it was just strictly just like excitement.
Thank you. It was like, a thank you. Like, I made it.
For sure.
Yeah.
So Jacob tells Rachel like who he is, and she gets excited and go and tell Laban. Mm-hmm. And then of course Laban comes out, right? Yeah. He comes out, he greets him. And he kisses him too, right? Yep. It does mention that, and it's crazy because before they never mentioned anything like this. They never mentioned it. Yeah. But it does mention it here. So he greets him and he welcomes him into his home. And one thing I will say is Laban is very hospitable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very.
And not just Laban. It seemed to be cultural because Abraham, we saw Abraham was very hospitable to the angels that were walking up. Yeah. We saw Lot was very hospitable. Mm-hmm. So it just seemed to be kind of their culture, to be hospitable. And the New Testament tells us to be hospitable. Yeah, that's a struggle right now. But,
because times are different. Like, you can't really trust everybody. Yeah. I don't know. God got to give me a little bit more about that one. I don't know. So then Jacob goes and tells Laban, his story. I don't know if it was the whole story. I highly doubt it.
Why?
You think he told him that, I deceived Esau out here trying to kill me. I deceived Isaac.
I don't think this is what I was going to say. Laban has to know. So I think it's funny because this moment tells me that me and you read this from a different lens. Mm-hmm. Because I do think he did. He may not have used the terms I deceived, but I think he knows that how else would he get the blessing? I think he knows that Esau exists. Yeah. I think these things he know. And I think Jacob's actually telling this story. So I took it as he's telling the story. And one of the things that I saw in verse 14, I thought it was a little bit of foreshadow when Laban says, surely you are my bone and my flesh. Mm-hmm. To me, I saw it as a little bit of a double meaning. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, your family. Obviously, that's one part. Mm-hmm. But me and you cut from the same cloth. Mm. You see what I'm trying to say there? Me and you are cut from the same cloth. You are like me.
Because I thought that was I couldn't figure. I'm like, why did he say the same thing as Adam?
Yeah.
Like, why did they point that out to me? And that makes so much sense. I was like, well, just maybe they're family.
I think it's a double meaning. I think we are family.
Yes.
But they already acknowledge their family, right? Like. But to me, surely you are my bone and my flesh, to me was like, so when I'm
my blood, all right.
Yeah, like exactly, like,
it runs in the blood.
DNA don't lie.
Listen, I know my sister.
Yes. So
I know you.
Yes. So when I read it,
we're just meeting.
So when I read it and I read the rest of this chapter, I read it from the lens of Laban knows this, and I'll tell you why that's important as we get there. But that to me is how I saw it. So when I say he told him the story, I'm also going back to how much Eliezer told. Yeah, and I'm assuming that we are to take from it that he told like Eliezer told, which was a lot.
Okay, that makes sense. I really was just like, I highly doubt he told him that full story, but you might be right with that one.
I think he did, because I don't think Jacob
to say something like that.
I don't think Jacob had no shame. I'll be honest. I don't think he had any shame in that.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
And I think what we're seeing too is this, what we've seen for the past 2 chapters, is like, this is the way Jacob sees the world, is this kind of transactional way. I don't think he sees anything wrong with it, which is why he meets the Lord, and the first thing he says, hey, you bring me back, then I'll pay you to do so, right? Yeah. Like it's a transactional way of doing things. He's a deal maker, and I think we see that come into play even more. But
yeah, for sure. When I was thinking about Laban hearing this story, I know he probably was like, oh, this is Isaac's son. And I know he remembered when Eliezer came there with all of that wealth, and if he knows in his mind that Jacob is going to inherit this wealth, I need to make sure that my daughters get married off to him. Yeah. But I don't know. But clearly, you know how I felt about him from chapters ago. Just, oh, blessed of the Lord. I can't get over that, okay? When he heard about Abraham and Isaac and hearing them,
let me go meet them at the well.
When y'all trying to get married? When, like, that's the vibe that I got from Laban. And to see it now, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he started plotting immediately.
He calculated it out.
Oh, for sure.
I have a different thought on that too. One thing I found confusing was, why was the second daughter the one who had to go to the well in the first place? Why not the first daughter?
Well, she was just a shepherd.
Yeah, she was the shepherd, but why? Why not? Why not the first daughter?
I don't know what she was doing. She could have been in the house cooking, cleaning.
Yeah, true.
I don't really know what her response.
You don't think it was always the plan?
No, he didn't know.
Well, he didn't know Jacob would be there, but he knew somebody would be there one day.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
You don't think so?
I think it could be. Listen, I'm not claiming that I know for sure. But it seemed like some Laban type stuff.
So I mentioned that Jacob was with Laban and his family for about a month.
Yeah.
Before Laban actually came to Jacob and gave him an offer, he asked him, what would you like to get paid?
Yeah. So it sounded like he was already kind of working there.
Yeah, he was working for him.
Kind of like an indentured servant.
Yeah, it sounded like he was working for free. Yeah. But not technically, because he was living with them. But he wasn't getting paid any actual money. And Laban came to him, I guess, seemed a little honorable, and tried to see what he thought he was worth, right? Yeah. But, of course, Jacob knew why he came there. He came there to find a wife and also to seek safety, but he really did come there to find a wife. So he saw that as an opportunity. So his proposal was that he will work for 7 years if he can marry Rachel, right?
Yeah.
And, of course, Laban agrees, right? You're like, oh, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And honestly, before we get there, I was thinking Jacob must have been a really good worker for him to want to pay him for him to stay longer.
Yeah.
He must have been doing a really good job. And I just didn't get that before because he was in the house with Rebecca all the time. But to see this, I'm like, okay, it sounded like he was a really good worker. Yeah. And Laban wanted to keep him around.
As I was reading to this point, I said, why didn't he bring anything? Like, Eliezer brought wealth, but it makes sense because he was trading time.
And that was another thing I was going to say. I feel like the reason why he put out such a great offer for 7 years was because of the fact that he didn't come there with anything.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to show Laban, hey, I can take care of your daughter.
Yeah.
Eliezer, he came before with a bunch of wealth.
Yeah.
But this time around, Jacob came empty-handed, So I think that was just his way of showing Laban, I can take care of your daughter. And I feel like another thing with Jacob, with mentioning 7 years, I feel like it was exemplifying what love is. And how in the Bible it mentions that love is patient. I feel like this was his way of also showing that he is patient.
Yeah.
And he can wait for Rachel. So that was another thing that came to my mind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, of course, Laban agrees because he sees that Jacob is a little bit desperate for Rachel, right?
Yeah.
And this was a moment that he was planning on taking advantage of Jacob. Just like when Esau really was in a desperate moment and really wanted that bowl of stew, Jacob took full advantage of Esau in that moment.
Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
Literally, right? And stole Esau's birthright.
Yeah.
So Laban definitely saw an opportunity and he took it. So it mentions that 7 years went by very fast, right?
Yeah.
Because Jacob was really
It was
in love.
worth it. It was worth it.
He was really
him.
In love with Rachel.
Yeah.
And from my understanding back then, they had very strict rules where unmarried men and women were kept separate. So
which is why I thought it was surprising that he was allowed to kiss her. That's the part I thought.
Yeah, no, I think it was just a greet. I think it was just greeting. But I won't say that he didn't see her. I'm sure they saw each other,
Yeah,
but I just don't think that they were around each other very much, which I feel like helped the time go by so much faster because now he's like anticipating being with her more, when they do get married. Yeah. So the 7 years is up, and so it's finally time for him to marry Rachel, right? So he brings it up to Laban. Laban's like, okay, and he throws this wedding, this feast.
Yeah, he throws this feast.
He invited neighbors, and sound like they had a good time because
sound like it may have been a little wine drinking involved.
It sounded like they had a great time because that night apparently was really dark, and Laban found a way to switch out Rachel for Leah.
So Leah is the older sister to Rachel.
Yes.
And a few things I found out. So Leah actually means cow.
Oh, okay.
Leah means cow, and Rachel means lamb.
Oh, interesting.
Right? And they describe, I don't know how they do it in your version, but in the King James Version, they describe Leah as tender-eyed.
So Leah, she had no sparkle in her eye. So I just took that she was unattractive.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think that's what they were getting at, was that she wasn't very attractive.
Yeah.
And Rachel, of course, was beautiful and well-favored.
And it said that she did have sparkle in her eye. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting how they kind of changed the thing. So he sneaks Leah in back to the story.
Yes, which is the older sister.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that happening because of, one, it was dark, number one. Two, they were drinking at night, I'm sure. Yeah. And then three, it was customary for the bride to wear her veil until
after they consummated the marriage.
At least until they get, probably before they consummate the marriage.
Yeah.
But
until they get into
to the honeymoon suite. Yeah. So he probably didn't even notice. Not a problem.
Yeah, he did not notice.
He didn't notice it until
the morning.
The next morning, right? Yeah. So he wakes up. He like, wait a minute, okay? He wakes up and he is in complete shock to see Leah.
I ain't gonna hold you. My thought the whole time was like, man, Leah had it bad.
Yeah, I felt bad for her. I felt
Leah
bad for her.
Bad.
Very innocent.
She didn't have nothing to do with none of this. She ain't have to be treated that way.
No. So here come Laban. He pissed off, right? So he's like, what have you done to me? I've worked 7 years for Rachel. Why you tricked me? And when I read that, I was like, because you reap what you sow.
I honestly was thinking the same. I'm like, you have literally sold this in your life. I think it's interesting because we hear all the time, like, the energy you put out is the energy you get back.
Yes. Galatians 6:7, New King James Version says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Meaning, don't be foolish. Don't take God for a joke. Yeah. Not his word, because it's the truth. It says, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. Right? If you go to the following verse in verse 8, it says, sow to the flesh, you will reap corruption.
Wow.
Sow to the spirit, you reap everlasting life.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Right here, we saw he sowed to the flesh. Absolutely. Now he's reaping corruption here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And
that's a good point.
Like you said, in Hinduism, Buddhism, they call it karma, right? New Age spirituality, they call it law of attraction. Here is God's law.
Yeah, exactly.
From the beginning of time. God's law. What you put in, like you said, is what you get out. So in this case,
he put in 7 years.
He deceived Esau. He deceived Isaac as well. And he deceived them when he didn't even have to, because he was going to get the blessing anyways, right? Yeah. And then now he has been deceived and received Leah as his wife instead of Rachel, which is where he worked for 7 years for. Yeah. By his uncle Laban. Uncle Big Laban.
Big Laban.
Big Laban. So I do think that this was God's way of refining him.
I think so too.
To humble him, to discipline him, and to build character. Yeah. I also feel like in this waiting season, God was not only trying to refine Jacob, but he also was beginning to build the 12 tribes of Israel, which we know will lead to something so much greater. So even in the midst of all the mess that humans create, especially in this case, God will still make sure that his plan will...
His will will be done.
His will will be done.
His will will be done. Now, one thing I want to point out, after Jacob asked Laban hey, why you tricking me?
Yeah.
Laban's words was, in our country, we cannot give the second daughter the first.
Right. And he knew this.
Well, but this is what I thought was interesting, because this entire time, what has been Jacob's biggest thing? To kind of skirt the rule, the order of things.
Mm-hmm.
He's been skirting the order of things.
Yeah.
And here, when the stakes were the highest, well, I shouldn't say the highest, but it was pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
God forced him, literally forced him to obey the order of things. I thought that was interesting, because with the birthright, he skirted the order. With the blessing, he skirted the order. And in my opinion...
But you think he skirted it? It was God's plan, though.
It was God's plan, but he got it by... I think the plan would have came through anyway.
Yeah.
But the way he did it was in a deceitful way.
Yeah.
And he clearly planned to do the same even with Laban.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll work for the second daughter. I don't actually care about your first daughter.
Yeah.
And to me, I just thought that was like a mirror of literally the same thing he had been doing the whole time. And I thought it was reminiscent of, like, you know how like sometimes you keep getting the same test over and over again? It seemed like that to me. But this time he was forced to pay that price.
Yeah. When I read that part, my mind immediately just went to Laban knew this before he agreed
Absolutely
to having this man work for 7 years.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
7
And
years
not
is a
only
long
that,
time.
not only did he know that before, he knew it during. The whole 7 years. Not once did he ever bring it up to this man until after.
He could keep a secret.
Until after.
Yeah. Well, he never brought it up.
He never brought it up to him.
If Jacob never said that, and Laban would have acted like, what's done is done. Yeah,
but
I thought it was funny, but that's what makes me feel like Jacob did tell him the story. It's just, I know Laban is a trickster, but I do think after hearing the story,
he's like, you deserve this.
You deserve this.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need my second daughter married. I mean, I need my first daughter married, and nobody's going to come sweep her off her feet. At least Laban didn't believe so. So I kind of got to use the second daughter to get there, you know?
So Laban responds to him and says, finish off the bridal week.
Yep.
And then you can marry Rachel if you work another 7 years for me, right? And of course, Jacob, he really loves Rachel, and he's probably thinking, what option do I have here, right?
Yeah.
Because he absolutely wants to marry Rachel.
Yeah.
So he agrees to it, and literally in a week, he gained 4 wives. Did you even realize that?
4 wives?
4. So,
hold on, what?
Yes. So you have Leah, which is the first wife, the oldest sister. You have Zilpah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
The handmaid.
That is, yes, Leah's servant, which is also his concubine. Then you have Rachel, the second wife, who he loved. And then you have Bilhah.
Yeah.
I know I might be mispronouncing these, but this is Rachel's servant. So these are the 4 wives that bear the 12 tribes of Israel. So, and it's crazy because
that makes sense.
And this is why I said, like, even during this time, God was building up the 12 tribes, because in the midst of this 14 years, at least 11 of them were born during this time. Only one, which is Benjamin, was born outside of that time through Rachel. After they had left Laban. So all of it was, definitely, I don't want to say, it was God's plan.
No, it was definitely
Although
God's plan.
It was human decisions happening here, right?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess I didn't even see, because they call them handmaids, and a new kind of the role of a handmaid. I didn't think, I guess I didn't do as much research. I seen that the children were starting, but I didn't think about the entire 12 tribes out of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in verse 30, it mentioned that Jacob loved Rachel more, right? Yeah. And I thought that was interesting that it
actually specified
that. It specified that, because one, we have this polygamous marriage, and you already know how I feel about that anyways. But we're seeing a cycle of what he went through in his childhood being done in his household now with the favoritism. And even with him having favoritism with his wives in this polygamous marriage, it has now caused jealousy, envy, heartbreak.
Oh yeah, we see a lot of
competition.
What happened. Yeah, in the future chapters that we're about to get into, we know I mean, at the very least, we know his favorite is Joseph.
Yeah.
Right, which is...
Oh, you're talking about with the children.
With the children,
yeah. So, yeah.
So it starts with the wives.
Exactly.
It starts with the wives, but then it trickles down to the children.
Into further generations.
Yeah.
Right. So we're seeing it just kind of like continue on. There's this continuous cycle of favoritism. Which
I thought was interesting that we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm like, Joseph is his favorite, but it wasn't God's favorite. Yes, Joseph is important in the Bible.
Yes.
But he is not the line of Jesus.
Yeah, I know. So we're seeing this strife between the sisters. And honestly, between Abraham and Jacob, I'm not seeing what's so great about this polygamous marriage, because it just seems like it is just a hot mess. Between Sarah, Hagar, that was...
Well, it's the ladies got to figure it out. It's not the guys. Abraham because Sarah kind of was blaming him, but... Yeah. And in Jacob's case, it looked like it's really on them to figure it out.
He ain't care. He like, I have my favorite.
They don't even say his name. After they get to chapter 30, Jacob's name is not said anymore. It says he just was like,
I love who I love.
I love who I love.
And y'all figure it out.
And I'm taking care of you.
So I just believe that God can work through human errors. God can work through human efforts to fulfill his plan. I strongly do believe that.
Well, there's nothing to believe there.
I mean, we're seeing it with the Bible, right?
Yeah.
The whole Bible is about God working through human errors.
Yeah.
From the beginning of time with Adam and Eve, right?
So before we get too far, because we already started talking about children, one thing I do want to point out, because we didn't talk about this, in verse 30, 31.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get there yet.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it. But it does say, because the Lord saw that Leah was hated or not loved as much as Rachel.
Right.
He opened her womb and pretty much closed the Rachel's, at least temporarily. Made her barren.
I think she was just barren, no?
But Rachel was barren. It does say, but Rachel was barren.
It just says she was barren.
That I found interesting, because it kind of showed this mercy that God had.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right?
I think because, again, she was very innocent in this situation. She was brought into the situation due to her father's action, right? Like, she didn't ask to be in this situation.
Yeah.
And where it says, the Lord is near the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Wow. I feel like this is proof that God is close to the brokenhearted. And even with Hagar, because Hagar was also
in the same
position where she was in the wilderness. Remember, she was treated poorly by Sarah, and then God shows up to her, and she calls him El Roy, which means God, the God who sees.
Yeah.
So God sees. He is literally here.
Yeah, showing it again.
It just goes to show that if you feel unseen by man, it doesn't matter, because the creator of man sees you.
Absolutely.
That's what matters.
Absolutely.
Clock it. So, so with her being able to have children now, so she has Reuben first, which his name means behold a son, or see a son. And she says, the Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me.
Yeah. So she's still looking for love from
She's
man.
looking for love from him, and it doesn't look like that happening. So she has Simeon.
Yeah. So she's like, maybe with the second child.
She's like, this is it. This is the one, right? So she has Simeon, and his name in Hebrew, so his name in Hebrew means he has heard, or God has heard. And she says, the Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me another son. And he did. God heard, right?
Yeah.
But
Jacob ain't care.
Jacob still didn't care. So she has another son.
Yeah.
And she names him Levi. His name in Hebrew means joined or attached. And I thought it was interesting because the tribe of Levi is known as the priestly tribe, and they were known for being very faithful to God. So you could say attached to the Lord, right? But she says, surely this time my husband will feel affection for me, since I have given him 3 sons. And
doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen. So then
3 strikes.
All right.
Jacob's out.
So Jacob, so she has another son.
Yeah.
And this is when she has Judah. And his name means praise. And she says, now I will praise the Lord. And I thought that was so interesting that she went from trying to gain attention from her husband, trying to gain affection from Jacob.
Love.
Love.
Literally trying to gain love from
affection, attention, something.
From her husband. Yeah.
From her husband. It took for the fourth child for her to shift her attention to the one who has been giving her affection, who has been giving her love this whole time, to just praising him for it.
Yeah.
For it, right? Yeah. For all the things that he has done for her in this time. So we know Judah is the one who lineage had Jesus. I just thought it was interesting that it would be Jesus who came out of a lineage from an unloved wife, who would completely turn this story around and be a loving husband to his bride, which is the church, the body of Christ.
Interesting.
Yes. But another thing that I gather from this is, though no baby,
make somebody love you.
Baby could cause a man to love you. It's either he love you or he don't. Yeah. That's just what it is. And we're seeing that here in the Bible. Jacob had sexual intercourse with Leah time after time.
Clearly.
Did not love her whatsoever. He still...
Well, it was God's will. Like, it was, we don't know the circumstances.
It was God's will, because as we can see that it was Jesus who came through Leah, the unloved wife. So
which I find interesting, because when I heard you talking, I was thinking about the fact that it was after she stopped seeking the approval of man that she would have Judah.
Yes.
Who is like the flesh and the spirit thing that we always talk about, where the moment she stopped caring about the flesh, she would have Judah, who literally is like the birth of what we know as the true pinnacle of living in the spirit in Jesus.
Yes.
So when you were talking just now, I was like, that's a good point.
And I also thought it was a good point when you mentioned earlier that he was in the flesh and he was looking at Rachel. I think God intended for him to marry Leah. Yeah. But he had his eyes on Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So he actually, when God sent him there, it was for Leah.
It was for Leah.
Yeah.
It was for Leah. But here we are. But
you got 12 kids and 12 tribes, so it helped.
They probably could have did without, because it sounded like they had some issues later on down the line. But
Probably too many kids.
Too many kids. But we'll see how it play out. I don't know the full story of the 12 tribes, but I am interested in getting into it.
A lot of interesting names coming up soon. I know Joseph's names are probably not too far from us, and so I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
this was actually a pretty good chapter.
It was honestly. So far, every chapter has been blowing my mind. Every time I think like it's gonna be an type of chapter, I pull some type of lesson, and I'm like, wow.
One of the things that I've learned throughout this is like the importance of talking about the Bible with somebody else.
Yeah.
Because like there's a lot of stuff where like I'll read it for myself and I'll get what I get from it. But then you'll have like some points and I'll be like, dang, I didn't even think of that, And I think that that's important. And I guess that's what Bible study is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But,
And speaking of, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you gather any other lessons, anything that we might have missed, anything you just want to point out, feel free to share it below. We would love to hear it.
Yeah.
This whole podcast is about just growing in the word together. So let's try to grow together. Let's try to learn together. Let's grow in the spirit together and share God's word with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Our goal is to get as much people into the scriptures as possible.
Into the word of God. Learn it for yourself.
Yes, we always say the podcast is fun. It's fun to share ideas. But read it for yourself, because what God has for you in the scripture is not the same as what he has for us.
Yes. So again, thank you guys for being here. We will see you guys next week.
Yep. Genesis chapter 30.
With Genesis chapter 30. And until next time, have a good one.
All right.